So, um, I think a lot of times when I talk to people about like nutrition um, or the proper way to exercise and things like that, um, they get very bored with it, or they feel that's overwhelmed, and it seems the common thing to do when it comes to like whether it's trying to reach for guys a lot of times it's I want to build more muscle, get gain more muscle, or even if they want to lose some fat or something, and they go to extremes, right? And they'll just start eating everything in sight and lifting really heavy weights all the time because they think, oh, that's going to make me grow really big, which I did that when I was in high school to a certain extent. And yes, you do have to eat more when you're trying to get bigger. So to kind of talk about my story a little bit is that during my end of my junior year of high school, kind of beginning of senior year of high school, I had been lifting weights for maybe about 2 years, and prior to that, I had been a very avid distance runner, and I also played a lot of sports like soccer and basketball and things like that. But the weightlifting scene was new to me, and I kind of approached it the same way I did like the cardio stuff. And all I knew is that you need to eat more protein to build muscles, right? And so I figured more protein is better. And I won't go into details as to all my theories as to why it happened, but around the time of my beginning of senior year, end of junior year, that time period, I got some really bad digestive problems, so alternating between, constipation, diarrhea. I'd feel nauseous when I would lift weights, and so it was very difficult for me to do so. And so I ultimately kind of stopped doing it, or did it very infrequently, going into my first years of college. And prior to college, I had been doing a lot of manual labor jobs. My part-time job, stocking was not super intensive like construction, but it was stocking shelves in a grocery store. So you're lifting moderately heavy stuff all day, for your entire shift and stuff. And then I would play basketball with friends, or I'd lift weights and things like that. And so during college, I started feeling a little bit better and stuff. And so I went back to my weightlifting, but then the problem seemed to come back again. And I went to a doctor. The doctor said, oh, you have irritable bowel syndrome, And he couldn't really tell me exactly what it was that I should be doing for that. And I couldn't afford to keep on going back to him. So I kind of started doing my own looking around, went to a couple other people and stuff. And kind of, my mom had a book laying around, and in that book it talked about how that your body uses different processes to digest carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And studying in school was not a thing that I was very fond of, and so I was kind of lazy, and I didn't read through the book in its entirety. I just kind of cherry picked different parts from the book, and then I tried them and stuff. And ultimately, I found out some things that I did get much leaner, but I also got much sicker too, because I didn't take the book in its entirety. And the book was kind of more geared towards people trying to lose weight. And so, long story short, I ended up, by the end of 2 years of technical college, I had dropped from my 175 pounds at the end of high school at a height of 6'1", down to 145 pounds, and my knees were hurting. The whites of my eyes turned yellow. My tongue swelled up and stuff. It felt like somebody was knocking me in the shins with a baseball bat, just tapping me, at night, when I try to sleep, and everything hurt and stuff like that. So I won't go into too much details there, but after college, I got hired at a large heating and air conditioning manufacturing place to do research and work in their research and development plant on commercial refrigeration units. And it was at that point that I hit my low, and I got so bad because I had dropped from that 175 down to 145. I lost a lot of essential muscle, and I was desperate to gain that back. I didn't necessarily want to look like a bodybuilder or be super big or anything like that, but I wanted at least to be able to do that so I could be athletic again. And you know, so my initial thing was to go out and I'd just buy whole frozen pizzas, eat the whole thing by myself. I would go out to restaurants and just gorge on like as much, steak and fish and all that kind of stuff, and just eat everything in sight. Well, what happened was it's kind of like the Weird Al Yankovic song, and talking about the pizza party at your house and you get all constipated. So I got constipated. I couldn't sleep at night. Had brain fog all during the day at work. Ended up losing that job, just because I was so messed up. And that was kind of like the last straw. I decided that, I need to go down and actually start having a disciplined approach to doing this. So I went down to the library and I, got some books on bodybuilding. And the reason I got books on bodybuilding was because I figured that, even though my goal wasn't to be a big bodybuilder or anything like that, I figured these guys are like the best in the world at putting on quality, mass, quality muscle in the shortest period of time. So I figured, why not learn their secrets? And I can take it as far or as short as I want to. And that's what I was going to do. So I started out on that path. Over the next, it took me a long time. It definitely improved work performance, improved different things, but it took a very, very long time for me to ultimately figure out my digestive issues and come around from that so that I was actually a healthier person. But I say all that just to say that even though, a lot of times you hear people say, oh, I'm just going to go out there and work out really hard and stuff. And in my mind, that is the easy part. It's the glamorous part, and like the research on diet and sticking to eating certain things and, watching what you eat, when you eat, experimenting with yourself and having an actual exercise plan. It's not as like sexy as going out there and just, I'm going to lift as much weight as I can and then go home and eat, a truckload of food or something, but it's going to give you better results. You're going to be healthier in the long run. On the other side of things is people trying to lose weight. You get this where people will, eat tiny portions of food, but they don't change the kinds of food they're eating. They don't see what like the macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. They don't manipulate that at all. They'll maybe just eat fruit and salad because hey, that's healthy, right? And not eat any fat. Stop eating red meat because that's got to be unhealthy for you and it's going to make you get too big or something. And then do endless amounts of cardio, because they don't want to get big and bulky, and their main goal is they want to look lean and things like that. And so they kind of run into the same thing from the other end of the spectrum, though. And then they get frustrated because they didn't have a plan to begin with. So when you are trying to achieve results in fitness, you have to. There's three main things you want to look at. You want to look at the exercise goals, you want to look at your diet goals, and then you want to look at your lifestyle goals. So the first goal is your overall goal of what exactly do you want to achieve. Are you trying to lose 5 pounds of fat? Are you trying to gain 5 pounds of muscle? Are you trying to lift X amount of weight or whatever it is? And then once you've established that goal, now you have to do some research to figure out, okay, what do I then need to do to reach that goal? What is the best practice for reaching that goal? You can't just go out there and say, I'm going to run a bunch and stuff, and all of a sudden I'm just going to lose all this weight. Yeah, you might lose the weight, but are you going to make yourself miserable in the process? Is it not sustainable, or you just keep on adding more and more exercise on to reach that goal? Initially it's going to go pretty fast, and then all of a sudden it'll start slowing down. I'm just adding more exercise. Or do you go back to the drawing board and figure out, well, what exactly am I doing wrong, and what should I correct? So then after your exercise goals, you also need to figure out, okay, what kind of diet is going to be supportive of my exercise? Because the diet and the exercise, they go hand in hand. What one's going to help me achieve my goal? And then after that, you have to come up with some lifestyle goals. So what goals do you need to set in your life that are going to make it possible to do those exercise and diet goals? So say, for example, you need to eat X amount of calories, and you need to be eating this amount of protein and this amount of carbs and this amount of fat. So how am I going to make that possible? Well, it's not going to just happen if you just walk out, if you just, think, oh, I'm hungry and I got to go find something that fits that macronutrient ratio. You have to do some planning ahead. Say, okay, I'm going to set aside this day in the week, and I'm going to do all my cooking for the week, cook everything in bulk, and then pack my meals. Right there, you're setting yourself up for success, because when you get hungry, here it is, that's the food that you need to eat. Now, after that, then you have to say, okay, what are the lifestyle things? Is that going to be possible for me to do that? Do I have that window available for me to do that? You have to determine, is it feasible for you to do whatever goal it is? And then from there, you can determine, okay, is this a realistic goal that I'm shooting for, or do I need to pare it down a little bit until I grow my fitness, grow my discipline, grow in the areas that are needed to achieve that goal, and then move forward from there. So just thought I'd share a little bit of my experience with goal setting, and that not everybody's just born being super disciplined, able to follow a diet, do all these different things. It takes time. Everybody, in the beginning, everybody wants to start out with the fastest track to where I want to go with the least amount of work, but take it slow, a little bit at a time, and you don't have to make a massive change all at once. Just make that goal, figure out what you need to do to get to that goal, and then start working a little bit at a time on introducing different elements to make that goal a reality and fit in all the puzzle pieces. Okay, guys, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Sorry that the video is extremely long, but I hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you all next time.